Okay, so now we're going to do this, the first parts, okay, for these topics will be classifications, okay, will be classifications. So what we're going to learn, or what are the learning outcome for these topics, okay? We're going to start first now. We need to describe the classifications of the species. So it means that each organism, living organism, we want to classify them. So how we classify them? We classify them into this, what we call the taxonomic hierarchy. Okay? Taxonomic hierarchy means that from top down. So how we top down? So we top down, start with the domain. So each domain we divided them into the kingdom. Each kingdom we subdivided them to the phylum, class, order, family, genus, and then it go to a particular species. Okay, now this is in our syllabus. Okay, we start with the domain. Okay, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. But if you look at, if let's say you are interested to study about these taxonomies means that the study of the classification. Taxonomy is a study of the classification and also naming. Then you realize that we actually, after species, we have subspecies, we have the strain, and okay, so we still have a lot of ranking, but these are the main ranking, okay, that's in our syllabus that we are going to learn. Okay, so it starts with domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. Okay, and we need to know their order. Are you clear? It's very important, guys. We need to know their order. Okay, so next, we need to outline the characteristic features of these three domains. If you compare among these three domains, we have archaea, we have bacterial, and eukarya. So the first two, archaea, bacteria, they are prokaryotic cells. Eukarya, from the name, you know that they are eukaryotic cells. Okay, they are eukaryotic cells. And next, okay, so we need to outline the characteristic features of the kingdom Protoctista. So now we zoom into the eukarya. Okay, we from domain eukarya. Here, we zoom it in and subdivide them into the kingdom. So what the kingdom, we look at it, Protoctista, fungi, plantae, and animalia. So how we do this classification? So you do realize that in our syllabus, the most we are going to learn is until kingdom only. Until kingdom only. Phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species, we won't learn in detail. So from time to time, we may touch here a little bit here and there, the phylum, class, but those are extra information. So what you guys need to know, the characteristic, the features, domain, and also the kingdom of under eukarya. Okay, and the last part we're going to learn, okay, explain why we, in these classifications, these three domain classification, we don't include viruses. Viruses are not included. Why? And if we don't include them into this classification, then how we classify them? So we classify them, they actually have a lot of method to classify them, but in our syllabus, we classify them based on the type of nucleic acid, whether RNA or DNA, or whether they are single-stranded or double-stranded RNA or DNA. So basically today we try to cover as many as possible, but do remember that they are very, very factual. Are you clear? Okay. So what's mean very, very factual? For example, we need to know what is the characteristic features of the fungi in general. But when come to the question, they won't ask it, okay, list the characteristic features of the kingdom's fungi. They would. They will tell you a lot of story about a fungus. Or these fungus have been found in which island. Okay, due to the speciation and blah, blah, blah. So now it developed a new species. So outline the characteristic features of this fungus. So it means that you need to actually know the fungus. They won't tell you a very direct question, but you need to apply. Okay, so these are what I mean. That it's very factual, but you need to use this fact to apply it. Okay, so now we start with the first part here called taxonomy. And what is a taxonomy? Taxonomy is a branch of study under biology. Is the science of defining. We need to define. We need to name the group of organism based on the shared characteristics. So we don't simply give a name or ABC, DF. We base on their characteristic. So we do learn in previous topic, the last two topics, we talk about speciation. So once a new species start, let's say for example, speciation take place already, in terms of we try to let them interbreed, and there is a reproductive isolation. So means that they belongs to a new species, right? So belong new species, now we need to give them the name. If we give them the name, we have to check the characteristic. If let's say, for example, the dog, okay, developed a new species, we don't place the new species of dog, let's say, for example, okay, simply, I mean, it's a make-up story. We don't simply place this dog under the group similar to human because the character features totally different. So we still have to put them into the canine group. I mean, canines, I mean, this genus, and then from there we start to going down. Okay, the canines, I mean, groups here. Okay, so each organism are grouped into a taxa or singular called taxons, and this group are given a taxonomic ranking. Are you clear? A ranking. So group of a given rank can be aggregated, okay, to form a super group or higher rank, thus creating a taxonomic hierarchy. So if I place us like human, right, we place the genus Homo, but Homo is not the only rank. Above genus, we still have other rank, or below, we still have other ranks. So in this case, generally, the whole classification is similar to, like, for example, domain is the whole world. Then we divide them into continents, okay? So we have what? Asian, African, right? This kingdom. Then we divide them, zoom down, okay? For example, Asians, okay, the whole Asian country, we zoom down, Southeast Asia. And then we zoom down, Malaysia. Then we zoom down, Selangor. Zoom down now, okay, into the, what we call the district Petaling, okay? And now we continue to zoom it down into the Mukim, Petaling, that what we call it EMCO currently, right? So we zoom it down one by one. So in living organism, we also classify them by this hierarchy, okay? So what is this hierarchy? So domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. Okay, so last time how I actually do remember this ranking, right? It's nothing to call as, oh, you need to understand the ranking, but in this case, you need to memorize the ranking. So the way I used to, remember, the order in this case, I will put it as domain, start with D, kingdom K, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. So I put it as a something like acronyms. This case, okay, I would say, dear King Philip, come over for good spaghetti. Okay, it's more decent one. Okay, you want to be a nasty one, or something's okay. So I do have my friends and define as dear King Philip, come over for good sex or whatever. So as long as you remember, okay. So this is how I remember last time when I studied. So use your own methods to remember, because nothing we can actually go and understand it. Okay. So start with the domain. It's the largest one. Okay. So all living organisms must fall into these three domains. Choose one. And then from each domain, you have the kingdom, and then subdivided the phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. So species means that very, very specific. Okay, later we're going to look at this. Okay, so now the first, or we call the father. Okay, father of the classification system is this Carolus Linnaeus. He's a father of taxonomy. He was the one that developed a way to name and organize the species that's still in use today. So his two most important contributions to the taxonomy, basically they come out with this hierarchy classification system and binomial nomenclature. So it means how we name a particular species. Okay, so in this, he published a book called Systema Naturae. So this is how they put it in. So last time he put in, okay, in the kingdom, the highest, the broadest group kingdom, and only have animal, plant, and he included the mineral, which is not true because mineral, they are non-living. Then he divides each kingdom into the classes, order, genera, and species, similar to what we have now. But today, this system, we modify it. We have the modification on this system. So this system is only used to classify living things. So in contrast to Linnaeus, which include non-living thing as a mineral in the kingdom. So now we have two additional level added to hierarchies. We have the domain now. Now previously in 1970s, domain only have two, which is according to the whether got nucleus or not. So if the cell got nucleus, eukaryote. No nucleus, prokaryote. But now, in the recent 1990s, we already change or do the modification of this domain. Instead of two domains, now we have three domains, which are archaea, bacterial, and eukarya. Okay, so these two archaea and bacterial, they are prokaryotic cell. And eukarya from the name, so they are eukaryotic cell. So in this case, at least if you differentiate them based on prokaryotic cells, eukaryotic cells, roughly you will know their characteristics. For example, archaea and bacteria, they don't have nucleus. Eukarya, they have nucleus. So membrane-bound organelle, let's say mitochondria, chloroplast, archaea, bacteria, they don't have. Eukarya, yes, we do have the mitochondria at least. Okay, and then each king, okay, from here, each domains, then under this domain, we have the kingdoms subdivided into phyla and followed by the class, order, family, genus, and specifics. So each level of classification also called as a taxons. Okay, so class is a taxon, order is a taxon, family is a taxon. So basically, it is a grouping. Taxon basically is a grouping in this case. Okay. So this one you can try at home. It's very simple. Okay? Across and down is according to the ranking. Okay, we have 8 here. So this is the answer. Later you can, after you have done, you can actually check your answer. Okay, so what's the binomial nomenclature? Okay, binomial nomenclature system basically based on what? Based on the specific way we actually name an organism. It consists of two parts. Okay, so the first part is the name from the genus. Another part will be species. Are you clear? So means that name is one, species is one, but we combine them together. It's something like surname is one, and then your first name. Are you clear? So it means that we combine together. You get what it means? Okay. So for example, let's say, hey, Tan Gao. So it means that we have two. Okay. So Akao, everybody was Akao. Okay. So many Akao there. So but we put Tan here, we are more specific. Are you clear? Okay. Even though Tan Akao still have a lot of Tan Akao lah. Okay. For example. So this is how we say that we put both together. But we do have a certain rules to apply here. Now, what is the certain rules? Okay, don't confuse, guys. Remove this Tan Akao first. Now, for example, when you write for human, Homo sapien. So Homo is from the genus, sapien from the species. So it's a binomial, 2. Can you see that? 2. Okay. Now, when you write for the genus, the first letter must be capital letter. The first letter must be capital letter. Sapiens, no capital letter at all. Are you clear? And if you type it out, when you type it out using your PC, laptop, in the Excel form, in the Word form, then you have to italize it. But if you write it, you don't purposely italize it. If you write it, very important, this is not the correct way. When you write it, it should be Homo sapien. Every time when you write it, first time, underline Homo sapien. Once you write the first time already, then the second time you write within the same context here, you can write H sapien. So underline H, underline sapien. 2 lines, you don't underline one, okay? You don't means connect all together. Okay, so look at this classification system. Okay, so first, let's say modern human, Homo sapien, how we classify them. Okay, how we classify them. So domain under eukarya. Why eukarya? Because present on nucleus and also the organelles, right? And then from domain, so eukarya, we have 4 kingdoms. We have fungus, we have a fungi, we have protoctista, Plantae, and Animalia. So we are animal, right? So why we're animal? Because we are multicellular heterotroph with no cell wall. Fungi got cell wall. Okay, if you look at Protoctista, majority of them are unicellular. And then if you look at the Plantae, plant, they have cell wall. So definitions here is a multicellular heterotrophs with no cell wall. So that's why I put Animalia. So under kingdom Animalia, we have so many phylum. We are invertebrate, we are vertebrates. Okay, for us, because we have the backbone and the spinal cord, that's why we are placed under the phylum Chordata, because we have backbone. So all animal with a backbone are under the same Chordata. For example, fish, birds, for example, amphibians, those are this group. And because we're nursing our offspring, we do have the mammary glands in this case. So that's why under Chordata, we have so many groups, where you have birds, you have, amphibian, which they are not really nursing the offspring. So they are not belongs to Mammalia, but we under Mammalia. Can you see that? And then you have the nail on the hands, feet, and we have a large brain. Based on this, then we place under the order primates. And then bipedal mammal means that we walk upright, okay, like King Kong, okay, like the gorilla. So we are placed under Hominidae. So because we are humans, we are Homo, and the species modern humans. Please do the corrections here. No need to put the H, okay, just sapien. So that's why we combine genus and the species into our scientific name called Homo sapiens, right? Homo sapien. Okay, so humans so far currently we only have one. Under genus Homo, we only have one species, Homo sapien, modern human. But previously we do have some already extinct already. Our ancestral, okay, species. For example, Homo erectus, Homo neanderthals. So those are our cousin, basically, our cousin in the same genus. Okay, but now we only have one. Due to what? Due to advancements. You try to imagine that if, let's say, there is no infrastructure, no flight, no boat, and nothing, speciation will take place. Because why? Those stay in Australia. Those stay in, let's say, for example, other island, because no gene flow between the populations. Therefore, it may develop to a new species. But because now so simple, today I can in Malaysia, next few hours I may be in China already, or maybe in Australia. So there is a constant gene flow still. That's why until now, humans, there is no, what we call this, new species of human actually develop. In fact, we look at our features, look so different, right? In terms of color, in terms of the shape, okay, in terms of the hair. We are so much in terms of variation, but we still remain as the same species because we are not reproductively isolated. Okay. Now, this is very important. Why we need to do the classification? Why so important? We need to do the classification. It can come out as the essay. Okay. Why we need to do the classification? Basic classification make the study of the living organism easier in this case. So what's been easier? So we do know that estimated we have 10 million to 14 million different species living on Earth. Estimated only, it might be more than that. Okay, for example, bacteria. So they show variation in their morphology, physiology, behavior, habitat, and nutrition. So if we don't classify them, so we won't be able to have better understanding. And it's difficult to remember the characteristics of all organisms without their proper arrangement. Now, let's say, for example, I tell you, okay, I have species A and species B. You want to remember species A, tiger, species B, let's say, for example, the cat. So if we don't classify them under the same group or same taxon, in this case, like for example, oh, they are eukaryotic cells. So as long as I know, even though sometimes, let's say, sometimes I come up, someone told me, oh, now I have a species C. Or we place it under a canine group. Or if under canine, then immediately you thought, oh, it might look similar to a dog. Can you see that? Even though you haven't seen that particular organism, but you do know you do have the idea about them already. Why? Because based on the classification, they must share a common characteristic. Okay. So classification is needed to avoid uncertainty in specific identifications of any given organism. we do know that if we don't give them a name, a specific name, okay, what happened here is, in Malaysia, we may call an organism as that particular name. The same name may be used to describe other organism. So if let's say one day I publish a paper and write, oh, this plant, okay, this plant gives us the medicinal property. But in other country, this plant may not call this name. Can I see that? But with a proper classification and scientific name, we can avoid uncertainty in the specific identifications of any given organism. Okay. And the study of a few representatives from each taxons helps scientists to know about the characteristic features of organism of that particular taxon. So it means that I do not need to study all of them, but based on the classifications, I will be able to know. Okay. And also the benefit of related species can be harnessed in applied science of research. Now, what's so important here is particularly sometimes we may have a species is an endangered species or critically endangered species. So I mean the whole world only 10, 20 left. So if I carry out research on them, I may accidentally kill them, right? So if I know the related species, which is not in endangered conditions, I can study them. Can I see that? Okay. For example, you want to try a drug on the humans, cannot. You cannot simply try the drug on humans, right? But we can check, oh, this is the closest species to humans. Then we can study that particular species, okay? And also classification help to develop a phylogenetics and evolutionary relationship between different group of organisms. Like we know in the phylogenetics, right? Okay, this is a primate, so we group them together. So it means that we share a more recent common ancestor compared to those, okay, distant away. So this is why I say that when you group them, basically we do know that how close they are, okay? I mean, even though they are different species, but we still be able to know how closely related or how recently they share the common ancestor, okay? So with this, I stop a while here.